we're reading through the Gospels together in the course of 1 year. This past week's readings included Luke chapters 9 and 10. Before we get into commenting on those chapters, just wanted to say a thank you again to the congregation and many others for your prayers for my healing. Doing very well. Again, a little over 2 weeks ago, became ill during church, intense pain, went to the ER. Long story short, they removed some gallstones, and then the next day also removed my whole gallbladder. Just saw the surgeon this afternoon, actually. He said things seem to be healing up really well. Just a little bruising still in the one area around the one incision, but other than that, doing great. So again, thanks for your prayers. Thanks for your support. Thanks for allowing me a little time to rest too as well. As we look at Luke chapters 9 and 10, what I want to pick up on is in chapter 9, we have the account of Jesus feeding the 5,000, and that's also the same account that we're going to hear this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, in worship from the Gospel of Mark, though. Matthew, Mark, and Luke are what's called the Synoptic Gospels. They have kind of the same vision, the same common themes and chronology for the most part as they go along. A lot of commonalities. John, too, is one of the Gospels, not one of the Synoptic Gospels. John follows a little different pattern in the way that he writes. We'll see that when we get to John later this year. The feeding of the 5,000, though, some commonalities between Luke and Mark. So between what we read this week and what we hear in worship this weekend, both of their accounts occur after the sending out of the 12 disciples. They go out, they preach, they teach, they heal, and they come back to Jesus and they tell him what happens. In Mark's account, it sort of emphasizes that Jesus and the disciples intend to rest and get away to a desolate place. And what happens? A crowd shows up, and Jesus, as we'll see this Sunday in worship, spoiler alert, Jesus has compassion on them. That's a really important word, compassion. We'll unpack that more this weekend. The other thing that's unique, too, is in Luke's gospel, it does not talk about one detail that Mark includes, and that's the people sit down on the green grass. I always thought that was an interesting detail in Mark's gospel. And I think there's an emphasis there of Jesus as our good shepherd, right? The good shepherd who makes us lie down in green pastures. We don't see that as much in Luke, but in Luke we do see Jesus, again, perform that miracle after the crowd gathers of 5,000 plus. He teaches the people, so he feeds them with the word, but then he even feeds them with bread, with fish. So he provides for both their spiritual and physical needs. Our Savior cares about both, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And we think, too, about how Jesus feeds us today. God feeds us today. We think, well, 5,000, that sounds impressive. But when you think about it, every day God feeds billions of people across the world, whether they realize it or not, as he provides the rain and the sunshine and all that's needed for crops and for animals and to provide for our daily bread. That's incredible. But he also feeds us when we come to worship, right? That he feeds us through his word, that same teaching, but he also feeds us then with his own body and blood, as under the bread and wine of Holy Communion. And so I think sometimes we think, boy, it would be great to be there, part of the 5,000. And it would be to be fed by Jesus in that way. But we're fed by Jesus really in an even greater way, through word and sacrament. Thanks be to God for that, a God who cares for us spiritually, but also physically as well.